Welcome to Talk Flicks with Just Chicks today. I'm Krystal.
I'm Nicole.
And today we're going to be talking about Kevin Hart's Guide to Black History Month. Is that right?
Just Black History.
Oh.
What happened to here?
I was watching 12 Years a Slave. I was mad. They took our dignity. Oh, so now you're trying to take our popcorn too.
Do you get that Black history was more than slavery? The innovation, the brilliance, the creativity, these were the things that we used to challenge the oppression. Oh, yeah! It's Kevin Hart, got to Black history.
Black history. What did you think about it, Nicole?
I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it had really good stuff for the kids and for the grown-ups. When I first saw it, I was like, why is this kid coming up on my kid's profile account? Kevin Hart is not kid-friendly. And I had actually started it without the kids in the room. And I was like, get out of here, this is grown-up stuff.
Right.
And then once it started playing, I was like, oh, okay. So I had the kids come in. And next thing I know, Daryl, my husband, was sitting down. He was kind of into it, chuckling and whatnot. And I like the fact that it didn't go for the, traditional... We gonna talk, and it even kidded about that. The traditional people you talk about during Black History Month, they definitely tried to, figure some people that you might not have known about that did some really groundbreaking and awesome and amazing things. But some of that stuff was a little bit too kitty humor for me.
Potty humor a little bit.
Yeah, that purple nurple stuff.
I thought that was funny. I mean, but
it wasn't for me. Like I said, the kids laughed. It wasn't for me. And I didn't like the bookie part where he was talking about the gambling and stuff. I wasn't really feeling that.
You know what I thought at that part? Because he grabbed that bat, I thought he was going to talk about like Jackie Robinson or like some other, African American baseball player. And I like the way that they kind of
did segue into something pretty savage, so it was
the one dude, they went clubbed all those So I liked the flow of it, like how the flashbacks of who these people were really connected with what they were talking about or doing there in present time. Him and his daughter. So I really liked the writing on that. I thought was really good. And to me, I really liked that they infused that humor and stuff into it because it kind of talks about a lot of times with Black history, it's a lot of stuff that just really makes you sad and mad. And so I appreciate that they used the comedian to kind of lighten it a little bit. And still get a lot out of it. So I thought it was really well done in that regard. I really like that they talked about the box slave. I heard that story before.
We have the book.
Oh, you do? Okay. And so, and it is something that they don't talk about that often, And so I was just like, yes. And it just really, it just show you just how ingenious these people were, especially when it came to just being free, the basics, just being free and being able to do the things that everybody else is doing. I feel like the reenactments, some of them were a little bit over the top, but I feel like, it was done well. And I didn't even remember that a Black person had invented the potato chip. And just the story behind that had me laughing. Because he's like, these fries too thick. These fries too thick. So he made a razor thin and there was potato chips. And so I was like, wow, that's how you deal with these little particular customers. So
one that really made me laugh, probably the hardest, is the one about Mae Jameson, the first Black female astronaut.
Yeah.
She
And
kept
she
calling.
calling.
She was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna call back every 5 minutes." She
Yep.
said, "That's like you think I'm playing with you?"
Yep. And then her teacher's name was Miss Hater.
Yeah,
I was laughing at her like,
that
oh my
was
gosh.
such a cute one.
Yeah, that
was
one was
probably one
good.
of my favorite ones. That
That
was
one
my
was
favorite
good.
one, I will say.
I liked all of them. No, that one,
Yeah.
the chip one had me laughing. I think probably the most. The surgeon. What was his name? Vivian. Something.
Yeah, that one was really.
That one
good,
was funny too, and it really just be like, excuse me. These people always try to take credit for stuff that they did not do. And it's like history will eventually catch up with that, but it's just sad that like people just always want to take somebody else's shine and credit. It's like, I mean, you part
The
of
other
it.
one that I like was and that made me do some research because I had never heard of him. The guy that played the guitar.
Oh yeah.
They said they didn't have a whole lot like on his.
Yeah, he
biography and
died
stuff.
young.
So I was like on Wikipedia, like reading up because I had never heard of him. And they was talking about how he influenced all these different people, and I was like, whoa, that's what I liked about it was that. There were some that even I didn't know, but then there were some that we did know. So the kids were like, "Oh man, we know who that person is. We know what that means," So it just got them excited because they knew some stuff and they knew the stories. And I just wish that you got more of this, not just during the month of February, which has been one of our goals, because I homeschool my children, is that every week we're learning about a different person in Black history that kind of correlates to the things that we are discussing in our homeschool.
What do you think could have made this better?
You know what would have made it better? Like I said, if we were getting more of this, I would have liked this as a series.
Yeah, I agree with
like
that.
If it could have been like a series with like 8 to 10 episodes and you got new seasons of it. Because, I mean, Black history is so endless.
It is.
It is so endless. And so if we could get a show like this that is produced at the quality at which this was produced, like you said, with the humor to kind of bring some levity to the seriousness and the, sadness of it, I would love that. And I think kids would love it because the kids really enjoyed it. And even my sister, who is 45 years old, doesn't have any, little kids. She watched it and she enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And I think another thing that really bothered me about it was there was no marketing around this. None. It just popped up. Like, None. It just happened to pop up in my queue and popped up in the kids part. And I was like, huh?
And all the publicity, they've been talking about Kevin Hart recently about all this shenanigans, and they failed to mention any of that. So
I would have loved to have heard about this, through other channels on social media, seeing all of the advertisements and things like that to really get the word out there. Because people are looking for things. Teachers, educators are looking for things to give a better curriculum so we don't have to just learn about Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks. These people are awesome, but that's just barely scratching the surface of the things that our people have achieved and accomplished under the most horrific circumstances. And I feel like we need to stop, and we especially need to make sure this is being put into schools where white children, Hispanic children, children outside of the Black community are able to see this, because they're not being taught Black history. And our history count, just like we learn European history, it's important that they learn Black history because it is a part of their history. And it helps them to take ownership over these things. And so then when we come to have these discussions about police brutality and drugs in the Black communities and the lack of jobs and resources in the Black community, they understand the concept of that.
Right.
They take ownership of jobs and resources in the Black community. They understand the concept of that.
Right.
They take ownership for that and they want to help. They become allies. That's how you build allies. And I think that's where we're struggling at as a nation is because if you don't understand your past, you don't know where you're going.
Yep. Or you you're going destined to repeat the same crap that you've been through.
And I know that just as hurtful as it is for us to hear about this stuff, I think it's equally as hurtful for many, 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 many white people to listen and to endure that, because it's like, man, I can't believe that my culture was a part of this. I can't believe that people that were in my family stood by and allowed this to happen to other people.
Yeah, it is hurtful, and I think that's why a lot of times they shy away from it in education because it makes you upset, and when people are upset, it kind of causes a little bit of disruption in the learning environment, So, but I mean, it's history.
But you have to learn
But
how to
you have
deal
to
with
you have
these
to learn how to deal with
things,
it. It's history.
especially when you're a kid, because that's when those patterns start to develop on how do you deal with big emotions like anger and hurt and sadness.
Right.
This would be a very powerful tool in a classroom, in an after-school program, in a church. Make sure not only your kids see this, but your kids' friends of other races see this kind of programming. Not even this, but make sure that wherever you are in the spaces that you're occupying, you're bringing that to the table, because otherwise these people may not ever see it. If you're not, we talk a lot about, and I know this is a movie show and we getting a little deep for some people, but a lot of us on our day-to-day basis are in spaces where we are the only black person, the one few black people that these people will interact with at all. And we get angry because they're like, well, they never seem to know what's going on in our community. Hey, you are with that person every day. Talk about these things. Expose these people to these things. Don't be afraid to educate people on things that they may not know about, because you never know how that might impact somebody.
Yeah, I agree with that. And another thing I wanted to mention was I just wanted to commend Kevin Hart for kind of elevating, I feel, his game as an entertainer. One of the gripes I've always had about Kevin Hart is that he was just a only woe is me type comedian. Versus, other comedians like, Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock, they would bring more like social issues and just, like things that are a little bit deeper into their comedy. And so to me, this is his way of, starting to, I feel, go in that direction, which I think is a great direction for a comedian to go, to where they are able to educate and entertain, make people laugh, but also educate them at the same time.
And I think when you do things like what he did, which was take his status as a comedian that is pretty much a household name, that's why they were asking him to host the Oscars, because people know him. And instead of using it for many other things he could have did, I'm sure, for Netflix, he decided to do something that elevated his community, his culture, and gave little brown children a point of pride, because sometimes it is difficult. There is not enough representation in media and in the world around us. It is amazing the things that you see and you're like, well, why is there not a version of this with little brown children? And you almost kind of feel bad, like, well, it's not that big of a deal. You probably wouldn't even sell enough of those, probably wouldn't even download enough of those. That's probably, you start to justify those things. And it's like, so what? If I want to have a option for a puppet to use in my homeschool that has brown skin and curly hair, why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? I redid my daughter's room last year, and she loves mermaids. She wanted a mermaid. And when you look up on Pinterest, it was really hard to find black mermaids. The mermaid that the muralist did was actually a combination of maybe 3 or 4 pictures that we were able to find, because a lot of the other ones were very like sensual and sexual. And then of course, Ariel, or other versions of Ariel that looked like that with the long blonde or long red hair, and it made all the difference and made her feel so good, because the muralist made it look like her. And she points that out all the time when she says, oh, she looks like me. Her skin looks like me. Her hair looks like me. Those things are important. It's not that she has a problem with things looking like other people, but it makes her feel good and makes her feel important and special because she sees herself in those things.
Overall, I think it was good. Those things you mentioned, I think, would make it better. Really just to do more of it. But overall, I think I would give it a solid B. Some of the comedy was a little bit over the top. But
I think that was more for the kids'
I
benefit.
think that was
And
more
I
for the
think
kids'
that's what
benefit.
really pulls the kids in because kids like over the top humor. Like I said, it was some stuff for the adults and it was some stuff for the kids, and that's what I enjoyed. Was that okay?
Yeah.
I didn't have to sit there and listen to slapstick humor the whole time. There was a
Right.
few things that made me giggle, like the one about the plane. She was like, "Yeah, I'm pulling you over. Where'd you get this nice plane from?"
Yeah, right.
That tickled me too. It went over the kids' head, but me and Daryl were laughing pretty tough.
Right. So yeah, so it was really well done. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get more. Sometime.
Well, you know what? Just to put that out there, the activist Sean King, they are going to be launching an African American owned and operated, like a media platform.
Oh.
And so
Like a Black Flix.
Well, like I said, I'm not for sure if it's like, because I have to be honest, full disclosure, I kind of skimmed through emails. And so I'm not for sure of all the particular details, but that is the sum of it. And it is exciting to know that there's something coming that won't be like BET. And that's no knock to BET.
It is.
But, but
it is.
it doesn't, I don't want to get too deep into that because we could go on that forever.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that representation is coming. And it's coming not just for black people, but for brown people, And it's for the benefit of all people. And that's the thing, it doesn't have to be just for black and brown people. It is for everybody, because when you appreciate somebody else's culture, it just makes the world such a richer place. We all have things to bring to the table. And there's room enough for all of us. And I think that's where the disconnect is that just because people want to see themselves represented on the screen doesn't mean they don't want to see you represented on the screen.
Right.
I'm clapping for everybody. If your movie has, white people in it and it is outstanding, I'm all over it. If it has Latinos in it, I'm all over it, And that's why I was so upset about the Aladdin movie, because to me it was a missed opportunity to really get some representation out of there. But that's where the Mulan movie looks like it's going to shine. So.
Well, that is it for this episode. We'll see y'all next time.
Tuesday.